What we're talking about is how the active cover up is building and the frustration from those people that are covering this whole thing up is also building. There's one Mike Johnson, a guy that I just despise more and more every day. He's getting a little more frustrated, and look at him try to show a little passion.
As you all know, I speak to the president multiple times a day on a typical day, often, always. Uh, and what I know about the president's heart on this is that he agrees with everything I've said here today. He wants maximum transparency, but he's also very insistent that we do not subject people who have already been victims of unspeakable crimes to further public scrutiny. And it would be a very dangerous thing to put those people's names out or to do a release of information in a way that is haphazard where they could be easily unmasked. And so you have to be very careful about how you do that. I think we have a moral responsibility to do that. We have a moral responsibility to expose the evil of Epstein, and everybody was involved in that. Absolutely. And we're resolved to do it. But we also have an equal moral responsibility to protect the innocent. And that is a fine needle to thread. And we could all give ourselves easy political cover and come out and do something in a haphazard fashion, but I would not be able to sleep at night because I know our legal responsibility. I understand what the legal standard is, but more than that, the moral standard, okay? So we're going to do this, and we're going to do it expeditiously. We're going to do it the right way. What is popular isn't always right, and what is right isn't always popular. I had an 8th grade teacher tell me that one time. I carried it with me my whole life. We're going to do the right thing here. And the American people at the end will see that we did that in the right way and on the right timetable.
That's Mike Johnson trying to sound like he has some kind of passion towards actually wanting to get to the bottom of this whole thing. We're going to do things the right way, and the right way we're going to do them. Like, bro, you've already sold yourself as Moses Mike Johnson, the guy who's even keeled, even temper, and you don't really fly off the handle. You just come and you say things very boring and eloquently and make sure that you're covering for Donald Trump and his lies on a daily basis. But now the pressure is building. It feels like Donald Trump must be screaming at people, why aren't you guys saving me yet? They're still talking about this. So Mike Johnson has to show a little bit more passion, even though he's a fake ass. And he's trying to act like he actually wants to get to this point. I mean, the horrible things that they did to these kids, I can't believe it. Yes, you can believe it because you're covering it up. Matter of fact, there's folks that are actually trying to do something as far as exposing this, and many of them are Republicans. And one of those is Thomas Massey. That's why then, right after how hardcore Mike Johnson was going and trying to get this done, he also went after Thomas Massey for trying to get this done. Watch this.
So, so as the leader of my party, I lead the incumbent protection program. Okay, that's my job. I go all around the country. I travel endlessly, incessantly. I have to raise over $300 million to do that, and we want everybody to come back. And some people, I try to protect them from themselves. You know, they kick and scream and bite their own colleagues. Some people seem to enjoy in trying to inflict political pain on their own teammates. I'm not going to address anybody individually, but I'll tell you that some here are much more frustrating than others. There's a small, tiny handful, but one in particular who's given me lots of consternation. I don't understand. I don't understand Thomas Massey's motivation. I really don't. I don't know how his mind works. I don't know what he's thinking. Thomas Massey could have brought his discharge petition any time over the last 4.5 years. Over the last 4 years of the Biden administration, he could have done that at any time. And now he's clamoring as if there's some sort of timeline on it. It's interesting to me that he chose the election of President Trump to bring this, to team up with the Democrats and bring this discharge petition. So do I have some concern about that? I do. But you know, in me and my way, I try to follow Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment, never speak evil of another Republican. My gosh, it's hard to do sometimes around here. I also try to follow the scripture. You know, it says, bless those who persecute you. So let me just say about Thomas Massey, could you just accept my Southern, bless his heart? Okay, I don't know what else to say about it. We're for maximum transparency. We're engaging in that right now. And we don't need political games.
I want to read a couple of things that this guy said. Again, Moses Mike Johnson, who's led by the Bible and goes through scriptures, but he was talking about how he needs to make sure he keeps as many seats as possible for Republicans. That is except for Thomas Massey, the guy that he said he's not going to name right before he named him. I feel like Mike Johnson is starting to lose it a little bit. He says, I run the incumbent protection program and I'm trying to keep as many seats for Republicans as possible, but some of them try to inflict political pain on their teammates. He's just talking quickly and he's getting a little bit lost in the sauce. The guy doesn't realize how bad he now sounds, talking about how he needs to protect Thomas Massey from himself because Thomas Massey's inflicting pain on Republican teammates of his rather than going for releasing these files that would implicate many of the rich elite pedophiles that were a part of the whole thing. Mike Johnson just told us he's more interested in protecting them and also then in keeping his teammates safe, because apparently the rest of his team is also on board with making sure those elitist rich pedophiles continue to stay hidden from plain sight, despite the promises that this administration and this president in particular made as they came down their campaign and looking to get into the White House. Now that they're there, we're all about protecting each other's teammates. And he doesn't understand why Thomas Massie's discharge petition for these files has him teaming up with Democrats. Man, this guy is divisive. So now Thomas Massie's teaming up with Democrats, the worst thing in the world to do in this country, apparently. I thought it was supposed to be bipartisan legislation. I thought we're supposed to represent all the American people. But no, this guy's openly admitting that his desire is also Donald Trump's desire, which is for him to rule over the country and not let anyone else have any other kinds of voices. Let's go ahead and go to Thomas Massie, who's really getting under Mike Johnson's skin.
I was wondering, with the paralysis in the Rules Committee, it seems like they're not going to be meeting again today because of the Epstein amendments. Have you chatted with anybody about that at this point?
Well, it wouldn't really matter. Their Epstein bill resolution is non-binding, so it's kind of fake. The resolution that I have co-sponsored with Ro Khanna would actually bring up legislation that would be binding on the president.
Is your understanding that will ripen the day after lawmakers get back from August recess?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have 6 days and we needed 7 days for the discharge petition to ripen before we could bring this up before the August recess. So we'll have to bring it up after the August recess. But the good news is the Speaker has no interest in keeping us here one extra day.
There he is with those discharge, the discharge files, looking to try and get this done. So they have to vote on it. But as you heard him talk about, they're not really wanting to do that. And the guy who decides when and how the scheduling of votes goes is one Mike Johnson. And that's why after hearing about how Thomas Massie's on this warpath, that's why Mike Johnson is here on his own.
Here's what I would say about the Epstein files. There is no daylight between the House Republicans, the House, and the president on maximum transparency. He has said that he wants all the credible files related to Epstein to be released. He's asked the Attorney General to request the grand jury files of the court. All of that is in process right now. My belief is we need the administration to have the space to do what it is doing, and if further congressional action is necessary or appropriate, then we'll look at that. But I don't think we're at that point right now because we agree with the president.
So no vote on this resolution before August recess.
We had this up.
Manu Raju there from CNN asked him, so no vote on these discharge petition before the August recess. The August recess obviously happens in August. It's the end of July. In fact, it's the 22nd? We've got several days left in July where they can still do this, except Mike Johnson doesn't want to do it. In fact, they want to leave town early and make August recess the August and the last week of July recess. It's already bad enough that they're leaving in August for the whole month, and they do it every year, and they still get paid the same amount. I wonder how many of you guys can leave your job for an entire month regularly and then, just get paid for it while you don't do anything else. When in reality, the reasons why they even have the August recess is because way, way, way back in the day, it got too hot in August. So it was a little bit different. And it gave them an opportunity, these representatives, to go home and talk with their constituents. That's what they're supposed to. How many of you guys think that these guys are going to go home and talk to their constituents at town halls after the first round of town halls that same Mike Johnson told Republicans not to continue to do because they're getting their heads ripped off at them? Imagine how bad they'd be now. I got one more from Thomas Massie because he's just laying waste to Mike Johnson.
What do you make of the Speaker's handling of this issue over the past couple of weeks?
I think he's scared. I think he's terrified.
Of what?
80% of MAGA, once these files released, they were promised this, they expected this, and it's not happening. But at the same time, he feels an allegiance to President Trump, who's gone against the MAGA base on this. So I think he's torn. I think the right thing to do would be just leave it up to the People's House. Let us vote on whether to release these files or not. And I hope he does not try to use some kind of parliamentary procedure to subvert or hide the release of these files.
He just keeps calling them out. But again, these are simple, straightforward ways of calling these same kinds of liars out. It's just too many politicians over the years don't do it because they kind of protect each other because they all kind of have their levels of corruption. And next thing you know, they're stabbing each other in the back all over the place. As you can see, that's the way this will be working towards Thomas Massie. And this is another point where Mike Johnson is in lockstep with Donald Trump. He posted on his stupid ass social media page, Thomas Massie, the worst Republican congressman, and an almost guaranteed no vote each and every time, is an embarrassment to Kentucky. He's lazy, slow moving, and totally disingenuous. A real loser. Never has anything positive to add. Looking for someone good to run against this guy, someone I can endorse and vigorously campaign for. There's a small admission there from Donald Trump that he has no one set to run against Thomas Massie, who's, again, a MAGA Republican, but he needs someone to run against him, so he's looking for someone. It's like a digital, like, classifieds ad. I'm looking for someone good to run against this guy. Generally, hopefully tall, white, blonde hair, fake Christian, someone like that I can have to run against Thomas Massie, because that's the standard here in MAGA. Oh, I'm sorry, one more qualification. You suck and have absolutely no idea what you'll be doing. You'll just be a loyal ass kisser like everyone else that I endorse. Something like that. I want to show you guys how bad this is getting. And one more reason why Mike Johnson is a little bit concerned and starting to get frazzled and starting to slam his hands on tables and act like he gives a damn, is because it's not just Thomas Massie. There's multiple other Republicans, and you might see some a-holes on this list of people that are talking about this, that are on board with what Thomas Massie is doing. Watch this. This is crazy.
We'll get, I believe, every Democrat and at least a dozen Republicans who want transparency and justice.
So I doubt there's something there, but I'd rather just put it out there and put sunlight on it.
With the Massie discharge petition, it's got some teeth to it, and it will pass.
I can tell you for the past, more than a week, the highest volume of calls into my office have been about Epstein. People want the information.
You got Don Bacon, you got Ralph Norman, and you got Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're all on board. In fact, she's getting more calls in her office about this than anything else. Weird how that is. And now she's listening, apparently because Republicans are upset about this.